Hello all. I wanted to take the opportunity to shoot out this training on sleep. I did not decide to record the live training yesterday because there were some people mowing outside. I didn't want that to be the legacy of the sleep presentation. That'd be a little bit ironic, I feel like. The purpose of this discussion is to share some of the science behind sleep, why it's important, some of the benefits of sleeping well, some of the dangers of not sleeping well, and then to give some practical applications for how you can sleep better. But actually, the main purpose of this presentation, in my mind, and this training is like, I want you to fall in love with sleep. I want us to see sleep for like just a beautiful system. And I want us to be people like, and I want to be someone myself who is really just in love with good, beautiful rest. It's often been said that the foundation of wellness is a mattress. And I love that. At the bottom of the pyramid, you got nutrition, you got exercise, you got maybe supplements at the top of the pyramid. The very bottom of that is a good quality mattress. So first of all, sleep is important. This is something that I always like to do in a group. The live group got a kick out of this. It's actually illegal to attempt the world record for longest time without sleeping. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to guess why they made it illegal to go for this world record. So it's illegal to go for this world record because people keep dying who keep trying it. It's interesting. The cause of death isn't obvious. We don't really know, but when mice are sleep deprived for something like 3 to 4 days, they'll die. And it seems like a complete shutdown of the immune system. We actually seem to be killed by like the mice seem to be killed by bacteria in their gut that just goes septic into their blood. So not sleeping is very, very dangerous. Driving sleep deprived, people are 11.5 times more likely to crash. And the definition of sleep deprivation is like 6 hours of sleep or less, which is more. I think the average American is sleeping less than 6 hours. So most of us are being sleep deprived. There is now a big overlap between Department of Transportation and like sleep researchers, because we all know that being on the road is dangerous, but we don't really understand is the fact that poor sleep is the cause of the majority of car accidents. Being awake for 19 hours, you can classify as legally drunk. People often fail sobriety tests. And again, if you're doing the math, 19 hours, okay, that's like if you're one of those 5 hours a night sleepers, that's a stat to be reckoned with. This is a study that I just found fascinating, but is also just incredibly relevant to a lot of our clients and patients. In one night of sleep deprivation, you can take seemingly healthy individuals and induce hypertension and elevated glucose. Basically, you can make someone's blood work look pre-diabetic just by having them sleep poorly. Sleep disorders are present in all mood disorders. So when, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar, a sleep disorder goes with that. Now, that may be correlation, it may be causation. It's hard to detail out, but we know poor sleep contributes to poor mental health, and poor mental health obviously can challenge sleeping. Daylight savings time. This is my favorite stat in this presentation. Daylight savings time, when we lose an hour, so I guess it's fall back, it would be spring forward, in spring, is the #1 day for heart attacks and cardiac events in the country. In fact, heart attacks increased 24% on the Monday after daylight savings time. Increased rate of heart attacks continues throughout the whole week, that's just phenomenal. Also, judges release their harshest sentences, like for crimes that are sentenced on the Monday after daylight savings time. They are more harsh than if that same crime was committed, like if you give that sentence 6 months earlier or even 6 days earlier. So sleep is important because during sleep, memories are solidified. So you go to bed and the day that you just had goes into your brain, and the brain literally reshapes and moves those memories into long-term memory, and it makes room for the next day's memories. We think learning happens like while you're trying to learn how to play an instrument. And it makes sense that learning would happen while we're practicing that instrument. You're playing piano. and it would make sense that you would be learning piano while you play. But actually, there's a profound learning effect that happens overnight while you're sleeping. So neural connections that are formed during the day are strengthened, and then actually new neural channels are formed throughout the night while we're sleeping. Also, this is kind of the problems of not sleeping. The benefits of sleeping is heart attacks are 20% less when we gain an hour on daylight savings time. So it's basically 2 hours of sleep in the population seems to make a 50% difference in heart attacks. Increased leptin, that's the satiety hormone. People often are ravenously hungry when they don't sleep well. And then increased mood is sort of an obvious one. In the live training, when I asked everybody, I said, who thinks sleep's important? Everybody raised their hand and said, okay, what are the important benefits of sleep? And everybody said, I feel great when I sleep well. I feel terrible when I don't sleep well. So everybody sort of knows that. And I hope this just kind of shows you some of the underlying reasons for that and some of the more maybe some of the more surprising concerns of not sleeping. Sleep is beautiful. I told you that I wanted you to fall in love with sleep. Sleep is just so cool. There are essentially 4 stages of wakefulness and sleeping. So the first one is being fully awake. Then you've got REM, rapid eye movement, and you've got light sleep and deep sleep. Your body goes through cycles. These are the sleep cycles. And there really is something to that 8 hours, the 8 hours, that's not just a random number, a full cycle going all the way from REM to deep sleep, back into REM, back into deep sleep, back out, takes about 4 hours. And you do like to get 4 hours, or sorry, you do like to get 2 cycles each night. So that would, 4 hours and 4 hours, 8 hours of sleep. Interestingly, earlier on in the night, you're in deep sleep, you're in more deep sleep. As the night progresses, you get more into REM sleep. That makes up a greater percentage of your sleep. REM sleep is kind of like is the lightest layer of sleep. And I'll give you 3 seconds again to guess what is the cool phenomenon that happens in REM sleep. In REM sleep is where we dream. So REM is dream sleep. And that's why you kind of have that thing where if you're like me and you dream maybe twice a month, you're kind of awake in the morning, but you're also asleep and you're kind of dreaming. It's because you're right on the border of waking up, and that's when your dreams are most active. So non-REM sleep is anything like light or deep sleep. Non-REM sleep is fantastic. This is where the clearing of memories happens and the solidification of memories into becoming memories. So you have all of your experiences in the day, and basically they're just sitting in your brain. And then when you go to sleep, your brain takes it out of just like the raw experiential parts of your brain and puts it into the deep parts of your brain where you really can remember it. Interestingly, your brain actually prunes memories too. So things that aren't important to remember, your brain will selectively edit those out and allow you to forget them. REM sleep, like I said earlier, is dream sleep. This is also where memories are moved into the hippocampus. And then the interesting thing is they're moved, from the hippocampus to the cortex. And then the hippocampus is cleared to make space for the next day's memories. So it's just amazing how literally sleep is the time where your brain goes through all of its daily kind of behaviors. You've got your morning routine where maybe you wake up, you take a shower, you have coffee and breakfast, you read the paper. Your brain has an evening and a nightly routine that lasts the entire night. And I just think it's so cool. It's such an amazing system. This is my favorite part about the nighttime sleeping, the glymphatic system. We've all heard of the lymphatic system. That's your fluid system. That's how we clear out waste. The glymphatic system refers to this in the brain. The glia are the neurons in your brain. Overnight, your glia shrink to half of the size. So if you're looking at a brain scan of someone who's sleeping, you see a brain scan and the neurons are like that white. That's a bright white. When they go to sleep, the brain sort of goes dark, kind of all comes down, almost like your brain's going to sleep. And then literally, the cerebrospinal fluid, that CSF, that's the fluid in your skull and it's in your spinal cord, actually washes through your brain. It's almost like tides of the ocean, but the tides that happen in your brain. So the glial cells shrink down and tides flood through your brain. And it cleans out waste, it cleans out toxins, and it cleans out what's called amyloid plaques. Amyloid plaques are often found in Alzheimer's and in dementia. They're also found in like CTE football players or car accidents. If you've got like trauma to your brain, it's literally scar tissue developing in your brain. But when you sleep, that scar tissue is washed out and dispensed of. However, if you aren't sleeping, unfortunately, that leads to an artificial buildup of those plaques because you haven't given your brain time to clear them out. One other thing, we've got a rule at Vital Signs: no coffee past noon. The reason for that is this term sleep pressure. It's a great term. We've heard of blood pressure. You know, sleep pressure is when you are in the evening, or it's like right before you close your eyes for a nap. That just overwhelming feeling that you've got to go to sleep, and at some point in the evening, it just hits, and you're totally ready to go down. Well, sleep pressure builds and builds actually as a cascading effect. There's a chemical called adenosine. And adenosine, there are adenosine receptors in your brain. And from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, those receptors are filling up with adenosine. And at some point, when they get something like 85, 90% full, that sleep pressure really hits you. Well, caffeine actually competes at those same receptors. So if you've had caffeine during the day, it'll stay on those receptors for like 8 to 12 hours. So that you will not get the sleep pressure response, and you'll lack the urge to go to bed at night because caffeine is fighting those receptors. Again, just a crazy, that's a bit of science that is so applicable to our everyday lives. Sleep is sacred. Sleep is a beautiful process, and it's also something that nature has preserved. The crazy thing is that every single animal on Earth sleeps, even though it seems that sleeping would be a really big survival disadvantage. Very few animals do things that are not advantageous to them. If animals are consistently participating in behaviors that are likely to kill them, that animal will die out. So it doesn't make sense that if you're being chased by a lion on the Sahara every day, that you would lay down and sleep for 2, 4, 6, 8 hours. However, every single animal sleeps. This ranges from 4 hours a day in elephants to 19 hours a day in bats. I just heard a couple clients say that they would like to live like a bat. And then I've got some clients that like to live like elephants. I love this. Transatlantic birds sleep. So birds that fly across the ocean sleep between flaps. So they'll flap, close their eyes, flap, close their eyes, flap, close their eyes, and go to sleep. And I also have clients that live like these birds. So that's just such a crazy thing. You know, if those birds can fly across the ocean and sleep, you can find a way to sleep another hour a night for your health. In dolphins and whales, one hemisphere goes down at a time, and then they'll switch. So half of their brain is being able to rest while their body goes into a kind of an idle state. So here's the takeaway. Our best science indicates conclusively that rest, this kind of sleep, is woven into the fabric of the universe. We ignore this evidence to the detriment of our own flourishing. So on this slide, I'm going to give you a challenge that if you're watching this and your sleep isn't as good as you think it could be or should be, which for 99 people out of 100, it's not. I'm going to really challenge you to take this seriously and to do what you can to improve your sleep. Here's the other thing. I work with a lot of clients who need help on their sleep, and we'll talk through a plan, and then they'll come back a week later and say, well, you know, I really actually just never believed that I could sleep better. I promise you that you actually can sleep better, but sleep is a behavior that will take, for some people, several months of consistency to improve. But also, probably everybody that's watching this could do one behavior to make their sleep 10% better just tonight. there are some really tough sleep cases of people whose sleep is just really wrecked. For example, if they've done night shift working or swing shift working for a couple of decades, that's a really hard issue. But I want you to believe that you can improve your sleep. So let's look at some things that might improve your sleep. Well, first of all, we might mimic what most humans do who sleep well. So pre-industrial civilization, so people that don't live with a bunch of electricity, like this horrid light up here, most humans have a two-stage sleep pattern. So they get 7 to 8 hours each night, and they go to bed usually within 2 to 3 hours after sundown. So they really are pretty tied to the sun. So in other words, you could get 8 hours of sleep from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and that's probably going to give you better sleep than going from midnight to 8 a.m. And then they also take, most of these pre-industrial civilizations take a 30-minute to 1 hour nap. Now, if napping is something that keeps you from being able to go to sleep at night, it's probably not something you should do. But most people, if you consistently have the urge to nap, it's probably okay to incorporate naps into your life. Most people feel really bad. They feel like they're wasting time if they're napping. But I think napping is something that if you can afford it, if there's a way you can structure that into your life, that it's perfectly reasonable and responsible. Some tips for better sleep. This is for people who struggle the kind of people that lay in bed a lot. If you're laying in bed a lot, don't set a bedtime. I want you to set a wake up time. Have a consistent wake up time that you stick to within 30 minutes, 7 days every week. So don't wake up at 6 a.m. during the week and then 8 o'clock on the weekend. That's really going to mess up your sleep. So stick to 6 a.m. on the week and 6:30 on the weekends. Don't be in bed unless you are sleeping. The bed is reserved for intimacy and sleep exclusively. If you spend a lot of time in bed awake, your body will practice and get good at being in bed awake. Whereas you want to be sleeping, your body will not be cued and appropriately prepared to sleep, and you'll be laying in bed awake all night wondering why you can't sleep. So I have a lot of clients that do work, they check their last emails in bed, they're watching TV in bed. I would stay out of bed until you're absolutely ready to sleep. I make an exception for some people if they tell me I can read a relaxing novel in bed and the minute I want to go to sleep, I can roll over and fall asleep. But if you're not that kind of person, do not be in bed until you're ready to sleep. The other one is don't watch this lecture and say, if I don't sleep, Andrew told me that if I miss an hour of sleep, I might have a heart attack tomorrow. Sleep is not the kind of thing you can wrestle into getting better. It's not like a weight training. Sleep is instead something that you just need to set the parameters of your life up to make sleep very, very easy. So how can we do that? I'm going to walk you through my personal, what I've done to improve my sleep. Consistent evening wind down. You have a morning routine, right? Well, have an evening routine. Give at least the last hour of your evening to do the same thing every night, so that when your head hits the pillow, you're ready for bed. I actually incorporate a cold shower most evenings. Your body temperature decreases as you sleep, and when you get into really deep sleep, your body temp is at its lowest point. So you can actually artificially lower you can actually improve your sleep by putting the overdrive on your body temp. And then invest in what we call structural abilities. So this is my, I made this presentation a couple of years ago, and I just went through and realized that I did all this just completely based off of me. So I didn't consult anyone else on this, but I didn't get these things alone. I learned these from other people, and then this was just my personal system. So the first thing I did, I didn't mention this earlier, but I did. Phones. I put phones in all caps. The first thing I did to improve my sleep was I got my phone out of the bedroom. I literally put my phone plugged up in the kitchen, and I got an analog alarm clock, because the reason why I had to have my phone was to set an alarm. So I got an analog alarm clock. This made a huge difference. This keeps me from scrolling on my phone for the last 20-25 minutes of my night, and it keeps me from scrolling on my phone the first 20-25 minutes of waking up. So I already get about 45 to 50 minutes of my life back just by moving the phone out of my bedroom. I also got something called an Oura ring. You can just look it up right now. It's a sleep tracking ring. Fitbit has similar capabilities these days. There's several different ways you can, there's a product called Whoop, it's a wristband. There's a couple different things that can do this, but Oura Ring was one that I used. And I used it for about 8 months, and it was really helpful. And I don't use it anymore, but the way that it helped my sleep has endured to this day. So it was something that I didn't need to use for the rest of my life, but that was really, really beneficial. And I'm so glad I did. Basically, it just gives me it gives you this data. It's not perfect, but it gives you your own personal data each night. So you'll see that I could see how long roughly I was in REM sleep, how long I was in deep sleep. But most importantly, I got just a cutoff for what time I got in bed and what time I woke up. And I could look at it every night. And I would have estimated before I got Oura Ring, I said, yeah, I'd probably be getting about 8 hours of sleep a night. And then once I really started looking at it, I was like, man, my average is a lot closer to like 5:45, 6 hours. So Oura Ring just gave me some good objective measurements and literally kept data for me that I couldn't just say, oh, I go to bed about 10 and wake up about 6. Like, no, I was going to bed at like 10:45 and I was waking up at like 5:50, so that was really helpful for me. Look, guys, get a new mattress or invest in a mattress topper. I spoke with a woman one time. She said, Andrew, I can't sleep. I'm sleeping terribly. I said, okay, how's your mattress? She said, well, it's 14 years old. I said, okay, buy a new mattress. She got a new mattress. She came back the next day. She said, Andrew, I'm sleeping so much better. Thank you. You're such a good coach. Yeah, look, if you need a mattress, go ahead and invest in a mattress. They've gotten cheaper and cheaper over the years. You can get almost any mattress delivered for a 40-day free trial from, there's 10 different companies that'll do that. If you've got an old mattress, do not pass go. Go get a new mattress. If your mattress is okay, maybe you can invest in a mattress topper and make do with that. Another thing, sleep mask or blackout curtains. I'd highly, your room, the darker your room is, the deeper and the more quality your sleep is going to be. I personally use earplugs for a little bit. I don't use them anymore just because my house is actually really quiet. But when I lived in a much louder place, earplugs were essential to me. Same with like, get a fan going in the evening. That's something that helps a lot of people. And then personally, this was my evening wind down ritual. I had tea. I put a little bit of apple cider vinegar and honey in it. I did a lavender essential oil